Hi, how you doing? Justin here. Today I am going to show you an awesome finger strength and independence exercise that I call the finger gym. Now, a couple of things out of the way first of all. One, this is very much like weightlifting. There's lots of kind of similarities between this exercise and go to the gym. The first one is you don't want to overdo it when you start out. So I'm going to show you the exercise in a second, but you really want to be doing like 5 minutes a day of this. If you go into doing like half an hour, especially if you started doing that right away, you're probably going to hurt yourself. So really start nice and simple. Don't give it 100% of all your energy to start off with. Just get your fingers used to it and kind of work into it over a couple of weeks. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, if it hurts at any point, if your hand hurts, then you need to stop and go and see a doctor, okay? This is a really intense muscle workout in your hand, and if you're really doing it properly, your fingers should feel sore, just like you've been to the gym. That feeling of when you've been to the gym and you're kind of a little bit achy, or you've done some, weird exercises or movements that you're not used to doing, you get those kind of sore muscles. You should feel that in your hand. If you don't feel that in your hand, then you're probably not doing it right. So you want to feel a bit of that, but not pain. If it's painful, if it actually hurts, and if it hurts after you finish doing the exercise especially, then you really want to go and see your local GP and get your hand looked at in case there's something going wrong. So other things that are really important just before we get going, it's not a speed exercise, okay? This is a hand strength and finger independence exercise. That's the point of the exercise. So doing it fast is not going to help very much. It'd be like going and doing bench presses at the gym and doing them really fast. You're not really going to get very much benefit from it, except for looking a bit stupid. So that's not the deal. It's got to be real slow and real strong. Also worth noting that later on, if you start doing lots of fast legato stuff, actually the touch should be very light for that. Okay, so this isn't a legato exercise. This is a finger strength exercise. So make sure that you got it right in your head what exactly the point of the exercise is. It's also really important that you get the tempo even. So make sure that the beat is really nice and consistent. I'm going to show you this in a close-up, but you've got to make sure that that the beat is consistent. If you can, the best idea is to do it with a metronome. And last thing before we get to a close-up is just to do with hand position. Really trying to make sure that you keep your thumb on the back of the guitar neck. Now, I know a lot of times when we're playing, especially doing blues or whatever, we put the thumb around the top and the fingers are at an angle. But really, when you're doing this exercise, we want our fingers in like a proper position. And the reason for that is because that's how we're going to work the muscles best. A funny gym analogy again would be if you were a shot putter, you wouldn't go and take the bench press machine and kind of angle your body around it so you were kind of making like a shot put motion. That would just be silly. It wouldn't be the right way to work the muscle group. So that you want to keep your fingers really nice and parallel with the frets all of the way through this exercise. So let's get to a close-up and start doing it. Okay, so to start the exercise, the first thing we want to do is try and make sure our hand is relatively parallel to the fingerboard, not at a dodgy angle like that. You want to try and see the difference? So a lot of people might start trying to do it like that with the palm kind of pointing toward the ground. You want to bring it up. It doesn't have to be exactly like parallel, but in that vicinity, okay? So first finger goes down in the first fret, and we're going to play that note, and then we're going to hammer the second finger down in the second fret of the same string. Okay, and the idea here, we're trying to hammer it loud enough to make it more or less the same volume as the first note. Okay, it doesn't want to be this, where it's really loud, and you don't want to go over the top and like really crunch it. You want to keep your technique nice. Give it a good hit. Then after you've done that, you'd play it on the second string, same thing. First finger, and then hammer the second finger down nice and solidly on the second fret. On the third string, fourth string, fifth string, sixth string, and then back up. Okay, so that would be the finger combination 1 and 2. Okay, you wouldn't want to do it any more fast than about that. Even that's pushing it a little bit. It doesn't want to be fast. It's not fast exercise. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not. There's no benefit from doing that, okay? So when you've finished 1 and 2, you move on to fingers 2 and 3. Again, trying to keep that hand nice and parallel. Play the first note, hammer the third finger. And we do that same combination, starting with the second finger and hammering on the third finger, all the way down to the thickest string, and then all the way back up again. When we finish that, we move on to doing the third and fourth fingers, okay? Try and keep first and second fingers kind of roughly hanging out in a line, roughly. Same thing, now really working on that, getting a good, nice, strong note there with little finger. Really help with your accuracy, making sure you get that nice and solid, okay? Once you've done third and fourth fingers, you go to 1 and 3. Again, really trying to get a nice positive connection with that third finger as it's hammering down. What you'll notice is sometimes it feels like you've got it hammered right in the right place, and that's really good. If you hit slightly to one side or the other, the note doesn't quite ring out as true. It's still correct, but you want to really be trying to work on getting that third finger to land in a really nice way so the note is as strong as it, and rich and round as it could possibly be. So once you've finished fingers 1 and 3, you move on to fingers 2 and 4. Exactly the same thing that we've been doing before. I'm doing it a touch fast here now just because I'm conscious of this exercise not taking too long for the lesson. Again, if you're doing it with a metronome, like 60 beats a minute or something would be fine. That's fingers 2 and 4 there. Lastly, 1 and 4. Okay, now that's all of the 2 finger combinations, of which there were 6, okay? Run through them again. It was fingers 1 and 2, then 2 and 3, then 3 and 4, then 1 and 3, 2 and 4, and then 1 and 4, okay? And once you've finished all of those doing hammer-ons, I would recommend that you go on to doing the flick-offs or pull-offs. So for that would be the same finger combination, so 1 and 2 would become 2 to 1. And we'll play the first note and flick that second finger off. I call it a flick off because that's kind of the motion, is a flick rather than a pull or a lift. Like lifting off, you can hear if I just lift it straight off, the second note's not very loud, whereas it's almost like we're plucking the string. Even without starting with a note, without picking anything at all, I can flick that second finger off and get the note under the first finger. So that's again what we're trying to do. Pick, flick, nice strong note on the second one, onto the second string, third string, fourth string, and continue over to the thickest string, and back up again. Now notice the tempo as well. For the whole exercise, it's nice and even. It's not, we're not looking at that, we're after, so it's nice and even. This of course is fingers group 3 to 2 now. Take it nice and slow, really try and get that flick off. Okay, then fourth finger to third finger. This is usually everybody's favourite. Just nice and slow again. I'm going a little bit too fast here. Just don't want your lesson to go for too long. Really give it a good flick. And then 3 to 1. Notice that we're trying to keep all the fingers nice and parallel to the frets. Okay, then 4 to 2. Most likely, you're going to find your thumb approximately behind your second finger. And now lastly, 4 to 1. Remember, it should be more like this speed. Okay? Don't worry about rushing, and if you can, do it with a metronome. Okay, so that's all of our 2 finger combinations, both as hammer-ons and flick-offs. So once you feel really confident with the 2-finger versions, you might want to move on to doing 3 fingers, which is kind of a more advanced version, I guess. So we'd now be thinking in terms of triplets. So the first finger combination would be fingers 1, 2, and 3. And we'd be thinking, so 1 triplet, 2 triplet. So dividing each beat into 3. Okay, that doesn't mean you should be faster. You should slow the beat down so that the actual notes are no faster together, really. So the idea here, it's exactly the same as before. We're picking the first finger, hammering the second finger, and then hammering the third finger, and then moving that across. Really, again, really trying to concentrate not just on keeping your fingers in a nice position, keeping a good rhythm, but also making sure that every note is as good as it can possibly be. Second finger combination there of the groups of 3 is fingers 2, 3, and 4. So I'm particularly getting that little finger nicely placed. Kind of takes a little bit of effort. Okay, next finger combination 1, 2, 4. Of course, these 3-note groupings, very important for doing legato scales and all of those sort of things. And even though for that style you want to be playing pretty light, having good finger strength and independence is definitely a really nice place to start from. Second finger group here now, 1, 3, and 4. Really trying to get the tempo nice and even, not or anything like that. Nice, da, da, even notes all the way through. Again, you should be doing it with a metronome if you can. Okay, so that's our 4 groups of 3 fingers. So fingers 1, 2, and 3, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 3, and 4. Okay, and lastly, the most tricky of all of them is doing all 4 fingers. Again, you want to be doing this nice and slow, really trying to make sure you get every note as solid as you possibly can. And of course you would then do all of those as flick-offs again. So 3, 2, 1, etc. Then 4, 3, 2, 4, 2, 1, etc. And then 4, 3, 1. Then of course all 4, which is the hardest, definitely flick-offs. I have to really concentrate again, especially by the end. Hand is already a bit tired. So keeping, especially nice and slow, keeping those notes really even can be quite tricky. So just to remind you of those really important things again, first of all, it should make your hand feel sore, but not painful. If it hurts, please, 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 please stop and go and see a doctor. It's really, really important. You don't want to end up injuring your hand. So take it easy at the beginning. Don't go really hard at it. Ease your way in. You might want to start on electric guitar as well, because acoustic guitar is a little harder than it is on electric. So you might want to start on an electric guitar, give yourself a nice kind of easy run through. Really, really important that you do this slow and strong. That's really, you know, that's the key thing for this exercise. So trying to do it fast completely defeats the purpose, waste of time, just don't bother. There are other exercises that are better if you're trying to work on your fast legato playing. It's not this one. Trying to keep the tempo even, really big deal. Doing it with a metronome, it's going to be so much help. One thing that I've got for you on the website is a Guitar Pro 6 file that you can play along with. So all of those combinations, each one through twice. I've got it actually, I think, up at the 5th fret, which is where I most often practice it. Just kind of keeps the rest of my arm in a nicer position than at the 1st fret. So you might want to do that, and then just literally you'd open up the file, hit play, and it'll play through, and you can play along, and it works as a kind of as a metronome, but helps you keep track of what notes you should be doing as well. Also really important is the hand position and the hand technique. So trying to make sure that the fingers stay nice and parallel to the frets. The thumb is approximately behind your second finger, in between the middle and the top of the neck. Okay, it doesn't want to be, if you imagine there was a line down the middle of the neck this way, you wouldn't ever want your thumb being below that. That would be bad. So from the middle up would be okay. If it's just kind of creeping over the top, that's okay as well, but generally it wants to be behind. It'll help you do the exercise well. Well, I hope you find this exercise really useful. Remember, there are tabs and extra worksheets in the guitar profile and stuff like that on the website. See you for plenty more lessons and songs very soon. You take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.